English, mother... Do you speak it? Hell Let Loose is a game that demands teamwork, strategy, and communication in order to win matches. And when communication breaks down, games can quickly spiral into a frustrating loop of spawning, running, and dying while your team gets steamrolled into oblivion. So if you want to avoid finding yourself in this crappy situation frequently, you need to learn how to properly communicate. So let's dive into that. In Hell Let Loose, there are 3 different voice channels: proximity, unit, and command. The proximity and unit channels are available to every soldier in the game, regardless of role. The proximity channel allows friendly soldiers within a 50-meter radius to hear your voice. This is how you can communicate with nearby teammates who aren't in your squad.
OP to your left. OP to enemy OP up there. Copy.
The enemy team cannot hear your proximity chat, and you cannot hear theirs. The unit voice channel allows you to speak to people in your 6-man squad no matter where they are on the map. And this is the voice channel you'll likely utilize the most, as you'll want to stick with your squad and work together to achieve a common goal.
Guys, I got an enemy Gary on my ping here. I'm holding it down with the MG. If someone wants to push in and try to take it out, I can cover you.
Finally, there's the command channel, which only the commander and squad leaders have access to. This channel allows squad leaders to speak to the commander and the other squad leaders to strategize, share information, and coordinate attacks and defenses.
Command, can we get another heavy tank? HQ3, top right side.
Yeah, sounded good.
So with this hierarchical setup, the commander communicates to the team of squad leaders.
Anybody wants to relay to get one of their combat engineers to set up another set of nodes just at mid.
Who then relay that information and orders to their respective squad members.
Anyone willing to put up some nodes? Commander would like some more nodes.
Now another unofficial option is to jump into a Discord voice channel with your teammates if you're all members of a common Discord server. The benefit of this is that you don't need to hold a button in order to talk like you do when using the in-game voice channels. However, it can be more trouble than it's worth, and this can be a little difficult and clunky to manage. So I generally prefer to just use the in-game voice channels personally. But if you are looking for a Discord community to call home, come check mine out using the link in the video description. We'd love to have you. Finally, for those on PC, there's a text chat feature in Hell Let Loose that allows you to send messages to your entire team. The text chat is better than nothing, but it's definitely not ideal, as you can't convey information or make callouts nearly as quickly or efficiently as you could with a microphone. So while it is a better option than simply not communicating at all, I highly encourage you to get a microphone if at all possible. Now that said, having a microphone is no good if it sounds like ass. Don't be the guy who sounds like he's deep-throating his mic. When you first spawn in, do a quick mic check and ask your squad mates if they can hear you okay.
You guys hear me okay?
You can make adjustments to your mic volume in the audio menu within the game options screen. You can also adjust the volume of each individual voice channel independently. This is a somewhat recent but very welcome feature, as anyone who's ever played Squad Leader will tell you, but more on that later. Don't shy away from asking your squad mates to adjust their microphones as well. You're going to be chatting with these people for potentially up to 90 minutes, so make sure you can hear them comfortably.
Hey, Insomnia. Can you turn your mic up just a bit?
Real quick before we continue, if you're finding this video useful so far, let me know by hitting the thumbs up icon, and make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to be notified whenever I upload new videos. Okay, once you've got your mic levels adjusted, try to break the ice with your squad. A simple "hey, what's up squad" is usually all it takes to gauge who all has a mic and who is willing to talk. It also helps to set a positive tone and encourages at least some level of communication. Now a bit of playful banter can also be a great way of getting people to come out of their shell and have some fun.
I got this good morphine. Straight from Uncle Sam's testicles.
Oh yeah.
If you're new to the game, simply communicating that to your squad can also be a great icebreaker. You'll likely be met with open arms by more experienced players who are more than happy to show you the ropes. And if you do run into some assholes, just find a new squad. You can also break the ice by simply communicating what your initial plans are for the game. For example, I'm going to go engineer and build some nodes, and then I might switch to MG. Or, I'm going to go support and help you get that first garrison built, SL. Or, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, so I'm just gonna go rifleman and stick with you guys. Simply asking your squad leader if there's a certain role he'd like filled can also be a great way to get the communication flowing, while also demonstrating that you're completely willing to be a team player and fill whatever needs the team has. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. After all, that's how you learn. Now, one of the most basic forms of communication in Hell Let Loose is making callouts of enemy positions. Ideally, you want to communicate what you see and where you see it as quickly and clearly clearly as possible. And while I do absolutely encourage you to communicate throughout the game, I want you to do so in a way that is effective. If you have no military training and haven't really played tactical shooters like this before, this might not really come naturally to you. Simply saying, "Oh, there's guys over there by the tree," is pretty much useless. So let's break down a couple of ways to make effective callouts. One way to make effective callouts is by using the compass bearings at the bottom of your screen. As you turn to face different directions in the game, the compass shows you what direction and bearing you're facing. You can use this information to communicate the location of a target by saying, for example,
Yeah, they're in that destroyed building south, about 175.
but please understand that this is only an accurate way of calling out targets if you are in close proximity to the rest of your squad. See, if your squad is split up, what your 120 bearing is not the same as what your squad mate's 120 bearing is. So using the compass to make callouts in that situation will likely result in misinformation and confusion. So be careful to only use compass callouts in close proximity with the people you're making the callout to. Now the second way to make callouts is by utilizing the ping feature. This places a small red triangle on whatever you're looking at that is visible to your squad mates for a 5-second duration. This gives them a really nice visual reference so they can quickly get eyes on whatever it is you've spotted.
Garrison and ping.
Alright, good eyes.
I find a ping combined with a verbal callout is the fastest and most accurate way to make a callout.
Yeah, they're on the other side of those train cars on ping there.
And unlike compass callouts, they can be used to pinpoint the location of enemies to your squad mates even if they're nowhere near your position. Just be aware that these pings are only visible to members of your own squad, so you won't be able to use them to point out targets to non-squad mates. Now communication is a two-way street, so it's important to practice what's called closed-loop communication. What this basically means is that you should always respond and confirm when someone is communicating with you. If a teammate calls out the position of an enemy garrison, responding with a simple "copy that" lets them know that you heard and understood them.
Got it.
Nice, good shit.
It also lets them know that you're listening to their callouts, which further encourages them to continue to communicate with you and your squad. And if you didn't quite hear someone's callout or it didn't make sense, don't be afraid to ask them to repeat it or let them know that you don't quite understand and ask them to rephrase it. People are usually perfectly fine with repeating a callout here and there if you missed it. And this is especially true if you're playing as a squad leader, as you're dealing with two different comms channels at any given moment, and sometimes one drowns out the other.
West,
Thunder triplet, don't push up.
and,
Bombing run coming in.
Now on the subject is playing as a squad leader, let's get into some specific tips for that role. At the start of the game, take a mental note of what your squad name is. Able, Easy, Jig, etc. That way if you're Jig Squad and your commander says something like,
Hey, Jig Squad, I just dropped supplies right behind train station. I don't suppose you could build a garrison on those?
you'll know he's asking you specifically. If you don't take note of what your squad name is, you might not realize he's asking you directly to do something. Be aware that other squad leaders are also dealing with the unit chat and command chat simultaneously. So when speaking in command chat, try to be concise and provide the information without being too wordy in order to minimize unnecessary command chatter. Here's an example of being concise. I've got an enemy tiger on Able Mark moving south. See, in just a second or two, I was able to communicate not only that I've spotted a tank, but what type of tank it is, where it's located, and where it's heading. Now admittedly, when I play Commander, it sometimes takes me a moment to find Abel's tank mark on the map. So when I play Squad Leader, I also like to include the map grid I placed my squad marker in as part of my callout. So in my case, it might sound something like, enemy Puma on Able Mark in D6 heading west. See, now the commander can immediately find my marker because he knows it's in D6. I know these little details may seem insignificant, but they do add up, especially when the bullets start flying and things get hectic. As a squad leader, you also have the ability to place various types of markers on your map for your squad. It's a good idea to get into the habit of using these markers when you feel it supports your verbal communications.
Got enemy infantry on my mark there.
If you figure out the approximate location of an enemy garrison,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have a garrison like 187 south over here by the hedgerow.
you can place an enemy garrison marker on the map in that location.
I marked it for you guys. Why don't we try to push in and take that out?
Or if you want your squad to move southwest, you can place a move marker in that location you'd like them to head to, and then ask them in the unit voice channel to head to your move marker.
Alright squad, let's start heading towards my move marker.
When the commander calls in a recon plane, be aware that your squad members can't see the enemy markers on the map like you can. Support players are an exception to this as they can see the markers. But make sure you relay this information for the rest of your squad mates. teammates. If the recon plane reveals a big pocket of enemy infantry markers, communicate that information to your squad and place an infantry marker on the map. This will help keep them in the loop and makes them more combat effective. And finally, keep in mind you're the only one in your squad that has binoculars, so make sure you use them and communicate what you see to your squad while placing markers on the map when appropriate. Now let's get into some communication tips for playing the commander role. First of all, try to get your squad leaders talking right away. Don't wait until you need something from them. You want to establish right off the bat that you're a communicative leader who is expecting cooperation and teamwork.
Calling in supplies in E5 there south of the point so we can try to establish a forward garrison and start probing in from the south.
Set that tone early, and in most cases, your squad leaders are going to match it. Always make sure you have at least a couple of squads dedicated to defense.
I would like probably a couple of squads to kind of be dedicated defense. Where are my defensive boys at?
Defense is an incredibly important part of the game, and it's often overlooked entirely. So do what you can to at least get a squad or two to commit to playing defense if needed. Unfortunately, not every squad leader will always communicate, so be sure to identify the ones that are talking and cooperating early in the game and continue to leverage them throughout the game to get things done. These people are your key to success. Call on them specifically to help you build garrisons, nodes, run supplies, or whatever else you need. Now, when asking a specific squad to do something, I personally like to use the player's name instead of the name of their squad. Let me explain my reasoning here. Sometimes a squad leader will forget to take note of what their squad's name is. So if you ask Charlie Squad to build a garrison on the supplies you just dropped, they may not realize that you're talking to them. But obviously if the commander says, "Hey SoulSniper, can you build a garrison on those supplies I just dropped?" it is 100% going to catch my attention. But at the end of the day, these are all just general guidelines to get you started. You will have to experiment a bit and find your own communication style and what works best for you. Don't force yourself into a communication style that just isn't natural. Be yourself and implement these tips in your own unique way and you'll do just fine. Now, you can only make callouts if you're able to spot the enemy in the first place. So if that's something you struggle with, then you're going to want to watch my How to Spot the Enemy video next, which will have you dinging heads in no time. Before I sign off, I just want to thank all of you guys for watching this video and supporting my channel. I also want to give a quick shout out to my admin team for doing such an amazing job at keeping our server a fun and safe place to play this incredible game. And finally, I recently announced that I'm putting together a competitive Hell Let Loose team and we're still actively recruiting. So if you're interested in joining a competitive team that doesn't have specific time commitments and understands that life always comes first, join my Discord and apply. Okay guys, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.